Hello, and a very warm welcome to a new show and a new political era. Tomorrow, one of these two will be chosen as our new Prime Minister. I promise that on this programme we'll bring you good news along with the bad, that whoever wins faces an almighty job.
It's not been a pretty race.
No new taxes.
Maxing out the country's credit card is not right.
But the victor has enormous problems to confront. Energy prices, making life impossible.
I think it's a terrifying winter ahead for everybody.
The war here in Ukraine, one of the big reasons for the problems we face.
Putin's already shut down a major pipeline. The squeeze is on. So there's one big question for us this morning. What should the next Prime Minister do first?
Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak are both here. And we'll hear from Elena Zelenska, the First Lady of Ukraine, about her fears, the path of the war and Eurovision. And with me throughout the show to chew it all over, Claire Watson, who worked for Boris Johnson and Theresa May in Number 10, Birmingham's finest, the comedian Joe Lycett.
Hello.
And the Labour frontbencher, Emily Thornberry. A very warm welcome to you. Now, first, a quick word about our show. We are here to ask important questions, the ones that you want answers to from the people who make decisions that affect us all. We will check out what is true and what is not. But we're going to try and have more conversations than arguments. Now, I cannot promise you that's always what's going to happen, but we will also sometimes have a bit of fun, including this morning, I hope. I'm very glad you're here. Right, let's get cracking, because there's really one thing on people's minds at the moment. And in the last couple of days, social media has shown just how tough the next few months is going to be for people. Families and firms have been sharing their bills online and with us. Look at the energy bill of one small restaurant going from £2,900 a year to £22,000. Now, in a way, that's the thing this morning that gets to the heart of the problems the new Prime Minister has. But if you look at the front pages, well, you might not realise we're on the verge of a huge political moment tomorrow. Some of them are talking about the prime ministerial race, but not them all. But first, of course, as a politics programme, that's what we're going to discuss, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. Now, Claire Watson, you know the Tory party well, you've worked in government. Tell us something that we don't know about both of them.
Hi, Laura, thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.
I think something very interesting about Rishi is he has his reputation as a very clean liver. He doesn't drink, he doesn't eat meat, but he has an unbelievable sweet tooth, which seems a bit sort of against the grain for him.
A reminder, later in the programme, we'll be looking at some extraordinary pictures from the troubles of NASA's new Artemis moon rocket. Sadly, it failed to take off again yesterday. So what is next for humankind's next mission to the moon? And we'll be talking about this, something extraordinary. Now, last night at Wembley, there was a huge concert, a tribute to Taylor Hawkins, who was the drummer in the Foo Fighters. Now, Liz Truss is very much the bookies' favourite to be announced tomorrow as the 56th Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. She's gone from being a student Lib Dem activist to a Tory cabinet minister and now on the verge of the biggest job in the business. And I'm delighted to say that she's here with us this morning. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Laura. Great
for coming
to be
in.
here.
Yeah, we're delighted to have you here. Now, the ballot is closed, so nothing you say in the next 15 minutes is going to affect the result. But unless every single political crystal ball in the country is wrong, you are about to become Prime Minister. Can you believe it?
Well, first of all, we don't have the result yet, and I'm not complacent. Anything can happen. I always think it's very unwise to predict the future.
Let's talk about something you have talked about extensively, your tax cuts. Now, you want to reverse the national insurance rise. But let's take a look at what that would mean. So, if we can put our graphic up on the screen here, the poorest would stand to gain about £7 from that. At the top of the income bracket, the wealthiest people in the country would gain £900, maybe even nearly £2,000.
And we have the capability, we have the attitude, and we have the spirit
to deal with the
And
challenges
we may well have Liz Truss in number 10 on Tuesday. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
in.
you.
And whatever happens, do come back. Well, I was going to say, going for some reaction from our panel, because listening to that interview at the desk and seeming to applaud Joe Lycett, the comedian, Cleo Watson, who has lots and lots of experience in number 10 because she worked for Theresa May and Boris Johnson. Now, Joe, I'm going to let you calm down a bit before I ask you what you thought
I loved
of it.
Well done, Liz.
Cleo, what did you make of that? I mean, Liz Truss has campaigned in a way that has tickled the Tory party, but what did you think of what she was trying to say to the country?
I mean, I still think the key question that you asked that she dodged best of all was what happens if Putin really does turn the gas supplies off this winter. And with everything we've seen in the last couple of days with Nord Stream 1, it's perfectly likely. And so that real sense of what's happening in the short term, away from fracking and North Sea and so on, we need an answer, and I think she's going to have to answer that sooner rather than later.
Now, at the start of the race to become Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak looked like he had it all. He was the early MP's favourite for number 10. After all, he'd lived next door. But unfortunately for him, all indications are that his hopes will be dashed. He's with us now this morning. Welcome to the studio. Now, Liz Truss told us that support was coming for people's energy bills in her first week if she wins, but she wouldn't tell us what. Will you tell us what you would do on day one?
Yes, I think this is the most pressing issue facing the country. I've said that from the beginning of the campaign, and that's why I set out a clear plan and a framework for how I would go about addressing it.
Thank you so much for coming in, especially on our first show. And whatever happens, I hope that you come back again soon. Now, as we come towards the end of the first programme, let's hear again from Liz Truss and from Rishi Sunak. And remember, one of them will be announced tomorrow as our next Prime Minister. What do you make of what you've heard in the last hour?
Well, it was nice to hear from Rishi Sunak. He's not going to be Prime Minister, so you may as well have interviewed Peter Andre. But I would like to see some sort of plan, something concrete. We need help now.
Well, we think very much if Liz Truss wins the Tory leadership election, she's promised she'll come back with that plan in a matter of days. We're not quite sure. Well, we might have to wait a little bit longer. OK. Joe Lycett, thank you so very much. Cleo Watson, thank you so very much. And Emily Thornberry from Labour, thank you so very much all for being with us here this morning. Now, as we end our first programme, let's go all the way back to the beginning. We've been trying to answer a key question. What is the new Prime Minister going to do first? The energy crisis is unavoidably at the top of that list. The First Lady of Ukraine told us to remember her country, and they are counting the price in casualties, not in pennies. From Liz Truss this morning, help is coming, and within a week, she promised. I can't help thinking that although she said at the beginning of the leadership campaign that there would be no handouts, that reality has started to bite. The conversation with the public, with all of us, is going to be very different to the conversation that Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak have had with their party this summer. Maybe the hard work starts now. Hard work here too. See you here next week, or catch up on anything you missed, of course, on the iPlayer. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you here next week, same time, same place. Goodbye.